Hi, Sarah here. Welcome back. Today I'm recapping the Gentle Tarot deck study we've been doing for the past couple of months. I missed recording the past couple of sessions, so in this video I'm going to do both of them in one go. The next session will likely be our last one. So in previous sessions, we looked at the different suits of the Gentle Tarot. So we looked at the Wands and Cups and Stones and Thunder or Swords. And in these past couple of sessions, we looked at the Major Arcana. In some books, they'll tell you to study the Major Arcana by splitting it into 3 sets of 7 because there are 21 cards of the Major Arcana plus the Fool. So we have 1 through 7 and 8 through 14, and then 15 through 22. So we opted to do the third set of Major Arcana first because we felt that it often gets overlooked, because when people usually do tarot studies or Major Arcana studies, there is so much gusto and momentum and inspiration for the first, but then when we get to the middle part or even the third part, there usually is no more steam by then. So it felt like a great choice to start from the third set of Major Arcana, and then the next session we did the second set of majors. To briefly show the majors, we've got the Fool here, and then the first set of Major Arcana, 1 through 7. And here's the second set of Major Arcana, Strength through number 14, so Temperance. And we will go over that in a bit. And then here is the third set of Major Arcana, the Devil through the World. And we added the Unseen card, number 22, an extra card in this deck, just because. Okay, so first, before getting to the Major Arcana, I want to quickly share a card that came to mind in that session. So as usual, we like to check in with everybody so anyone can share any relevant cards that came up to them that week. In this session, I chose the 10 of Cups. I had just had an amazing hour-long walk and talk with a friend who visited my place. We walked around the neighborhood for an hour and talked about some really deep stuff, just some really personal stuff, and I felt really in alignment with her. And in sharing this with the rest of the deck study club, we talked about how normally the Rider-Waite-Smith 10 of Cups has a family in it, and I never really resonated with that kind of imagery because to me, family felt like just a pentacle sort of thing. But now that I had that experience with one of my best friends, who I consider a sister because I just feel so close and such kinship with her, I now understand how the 10 of Cups can represent sort of familial bonds. And this, it really represents this, alignment of energy, alignment of moods, emotions. There is sort of a family sense here, too, with this card because we see these, parent-looking chicks, birds, who are taking care of these eggs, who are the next generation, their offspring. This gives me a different sense than the 10 of Stones kind of family. This actually makes me think more of found family. I realized that the way that I grew up, family always felt like an obligation. Even if things weren't really working out, you just had to put up with it because they're family. But the 10 of Cups speaks to a different idea of family, a different side of family. With the family, the people that you choose to really work on your relationship with, to build your relationship with and share your life and your deeper feelings with, I now understand that can be the 10 of Cups moment. So yeah, that was a card that came up, the 10 of Cups. Now I understand better how family can apply to this in a different way than the 10 of Stones, 10 of Pentacles. Okay, so now the main activity of that session, we looked at the Major Arcana 15 through 21. So we have the Devil, the Tower, the Star, the Moon, the Sun, Judgment, and the World. Similar to what we were doing in the previous studies with the suits, we looked at this set of cards and challenged ourselves to find 1 to 3 keywords that best express the qualities of this set of cards. So if you'd like to participate in the activity, feel free to pause the video and see for yourself if you can come up with 1 to 3 keywords that represent this set of cards here. We all found this to be a challenge because Major Arcana can have a lot of different energies compared to the closer or smaller themes of the suits like Wands and Stones and all that. So I came up with 2 keywords. One is renewal. It feels like in many of these cards, there's an energy of renewing, of changing yourself for the better, of refreshing in a way. So the Tower is renewal because we have old things coming apart and new things coming in. The Star feels like renewal because you feel new. The Moon also feels like renewal because it's almost like you're being cleansed of old things and you're, moving into this new state of confusion. The Sun definitely feels like renewal and clarity, new stuff coming to light here. Judgment, definitely renewal there because shedding old skin And the world also feels like renewal because you're just feeling like a new person after you've gone through all of these trials and tribulations. Another word I came up with was exploring. A lot of these cards feels like exploring new themes, new energies, new ideas, new ways of being and living. So like the Devil, exploring something that we previously thought was taboo, exploring what it feels like to be chained, exploring what it's like to hold on to the chain. The Star, the Moon is exploring, looking forward into this like open space, this expanse of the unknown. Judgment, again, is exploring like a new way of being and living that we didn't know before. So yeah, renewal and exploring were the two words I came up with. A couple that others came up with that I thought were really good. One was galactic from Joe of Pointed Logic Tarot. Galactic and cosmic, this definitely makes sense. She explained how these cards feel very cosmic, very almost universal in a way. Maybe not universal, but like universe scale. It's a very different feeling with these like very broad concept cards compared to these like narrow scope, narrow concept cards like the Empress and the Lovers and the Magician. These feel very like tangible, whereas these all feel very very open, very galactic as the keyword goes. Other keywords were destruction, recovery or realignment. I really like realignment as well. It feels like it goes hand in hand with renewal and exploring because you're exploring new things and or you're exploring like what your actual values are and you're aligning yourself back to the true you, who you want to be, outside of all of the external influences and the external things that have happened to you. After that, then we highlighted certain cards that just stood out to us, whether us personally or compared to the typical Rider-Waite-Smith interpretations of these cards. So one card that really stood out was the Devil card. So this Devil card looks really different from other Rider-Waite-Smith Devils with 2 or 3 figures. In here, we only see one figure who is standing behind this doorway that they're too big for, really. And they're holding this chain that is tied to something off screen. Maybe it's tied to something, maybe it's not. I guess because the chain looks taut, it's probably dragging something there. The guidebook mentions how this body is muscular, which can signify like putting on a facade. That's a really interesting interpretation of a muscular body. For me, I noticed that the chain being made of metal feels very different and very much an outlier element compared to all of the other cards in the deck. This is a very natural and nature-themed deck, so I don't think there's many other depictions of metal or any other man-made structures or things in this way. So this metal chain really, really stands out. I can't remember exactly what the guidebook mentioned these red footsteps represent. For me, I could see them as not being aware of the impact that you are making because you're moving along and you're not really looking behind at these marks you're leaving behind. There's also elements of the unknown here because when we look through this door, we only see the bottom half of this person here. We don't see what this red thing out here is. Is it a planet? Is it like a red sky? It's not clear what it is. I think that's a really interesting element of this Devil card too. When we're really in the depths of something with no easy way to get out of it, we might not be able to see like the bigger picture or see things that are beyond like our immediate scope. One more thing I'll mention is Joe mentioned that Tom Benjamin's keyword for the Devil card is theater, and I thought that was so ingenious. That makes so much sense for the Devil. Theater feels like indulgence in a way. Like, yeah, we'll play along with this, but there might be a point where playing along with it is no longer play. It kind of becomes real. We'll play along with this thing just for fun because it's entertaining, because it's fun. But maybe there's a point when that theater or that entertainment no longer becomes just entertainment. It becomes a little bit too real and perhaps a little bit unhealthy for us. But it can be fun or necessary or helpful in moderate doses. I think theater is a great non-shamey keyword for the Devil. I think it's great to indulge in things. The trouble with it is just not knowing when to stop or not being able to discern if this thing is becoming unhealthy for us. I think even the opposite of indulgence, though, can also be harmful for us, too, which is why I love theater and just all keywords and concepts of the Devil as a neutral energy. Even being too rigid and not allowing ourselves outlets to indulge in things that are ultimately not harmful, not indulging in things can also be harmful, because then we live a life full of rigidity and not fun, no outlets for fun and exploring and all that fun stuff. Another card we talked about a lot was the Tower card. We have all 4 elements here. We have water, fire, earth, and air, the thunder suit here. In contrast to other Tower cards where people are falling and it looks very dramatic, this figure looks very still. they kind of look like a lightning rod in a way, where they're almost attracting the lightning here because they've sat at the top of this hill. So that could be seen as a mistake that you didn't anticipate, like you climb to the top of the hill, of course you're going to get zapped, or it could be a conscious choice, like you chose to go to the top of the hill knowing that you needed new inspiration, new thunder, new idea, or you needed a shakeup, or you needed to attract something to help you get out of your funk. We have rainbow at the top as well. Rainbows can symbolize hope, adding more color to your life, rejuvenation, renewal, like I mentioned before, those keywords. There are bright colors in this card compared to other dark cards like Devil or the Judgment. It looks like almost new color, new clarity, new ideas. Last thing I'll mention is because the Thunder is the suit of air or suit of swords in this deck, I relate it to thoughts and realizations. Here is the Ace of Thunder, and I feel like there's similar energy here. And what I initially noticed in the Ace of Thunder when I pulled this card for the first time is that the hands are open. They're receiving and being open to this thunder coming through. It's different from other Rider-Waite-Smith Ace of Swords. Usually those depict a hand holding a sword, hand holding something air related very tightly, but here they're open to receiving this new information coming through, new ideas, new energy. So yeah, this tower feels similar to that in receiving this new energy and channeling this new energy. I also want to point out the Seven of Cups, because in the Seven of Cups, we looked at the guidebook and saw that Mari represented inner truth through this fire in a cup here. So in the Seven of Cups here, with so many different choices and so many things catching your attention, your whimsies, what you can focus on most is your inner truth, represented by this fire, the flame inside you. And we see that flame inside you again here in the tower. I really love when artists do this, when they stick to the same themes and have them come up over and over. It makes this deck really great to analyze and study with. And the last card we briefly talked about was the World, because the World person here is wearing clothes. So many of the figures in this deck are naked or nude. So we briefly looked at other cards where the people were wearing clothes, and it's interesting that they are the minority in this deck because, again, everyone else is naked. So other people wearing clothes: Four of Stones, Nine of Stones, Nine of Cups, Ace of Cups, Five of Cups, Ten of Stones, Nine of Thunder. And if I've missed more, please let me know in the comments. Interestingly, the fish is at the top and the eagle here is at the bottom. You might think that because we depict water as underneath us, we would put the fish down here and the eagle would be up here, but here they're reversed. The four colors here represent the four suits. Yeah, that's all I got for the worlds. That's all I got for this set of Major Arcana. Lastly, for this session, I'll mention the activity that we did. I found this activity from the Deep Dive Tarot and Oracle Study Group on Facebook. So the activity is to pull two cards and to basically do a Venn diagram of it. I found this activity from a Facebook group called Deep Dive Tarot and Oracle Study. Someone named Vesta Maison posts a lot of activities there, and she posted this one that I thought was really cool. So we pulled two cards randomly. It happened to be the Chariot and the Flower of Stones, or the Queen of Pentacles here. So we all pulled these cards out. And what you do is you draw a Venn diagram like so. So you draw two circles that are overlapping in this way. In the first circle, you're going to write keywords that relate to only the Chariot but not the Flower of Stones. And in the other circle, you're going to write keywords related to the Flower of Stones and not the Chariot. And then in the middle, where the circles overlap, you're going to write keywords that relate to both the Chariot and the Flower of Stones. So the keywords I came up with for the Chariot that don't relate to the Flower of Stones is movement and seizing the moment. The Flower of Stones keywords that aren't related to the Chariot that I came up with are taking care and feeling secure. It's an interesting exercise to think about what themes and energies do you see in this card that don't apply to this card. This card felt easier for me than this card because with Flower of Stones, I could see that this bear is laying down, having not a care in the world. It really is just taking care. Whereas a Chariot would be the kind of opposite energy, where it might not be so careful with everything because it's just trying to get moving along, trying to seize the moment and catch these fish and everything. I can only come up with one keyword or one phrase to represent the both of these, and that is present, or being present, the moment. And the contrast here is that for me, the Flower of Stones feels very secure while being present in the moment, whereas the Chariot is taking this moment to seize the moment, take this opportunity before it passes. Okay, moving on to the next study session. Again, first I want to share a couple of cards that have been relevant. So I pulled the Five of Stones and the Seven of Stones. The Five of Stones, I remembered our previous discussions about how we want to be mindful of our own struggles and other people's struggles, because even though things might seem all right and just fine and dandy on the surface, underneath the surface, right, with these plastic bags and stuff, they might be struggling more than we thought. And I realized that I just was really struggling the past few days. I didn't feel like I had much energy and or my resources and energy and focus was just all scattered. So I also pulled out the Seven of Stones to remind myself of like what the focus feels like and or what I want to feel like. It's interesting to note these seven versus this Seven of Cups here. For me, both of these sevens could relate to having a lot of focuses or energies just all scattered about, but the Seven of Stones feels way more centered versus this Seven of Cups. The Seven of Cups feels like make a choice or look at your choices, or the Seven of Stones acknowledges that there is a lot going on and what we need to do right now is stay centered, stay grounded within it all. Also interesting to note that these two figures are transparent. Also, very contrasting backgrounds too. We have a very bright background and a very dark background here. So yeah, I could have chosen the Seven of Cups because my energies all felt scattered, but I chose the Seven of Stones instead because I wanted to feel centered and be centered in the midst of feeling like my energy and my focus was all scattered. Really like that exercise of consciously pulling cards rather than only pulling random cards all the time. I think this is a great mental exercise to connect with the tarot as well. And then we moved on to the majors 8 through 14. So here we got Strength, the Hermit, Wheel of Fortune, Justice, the Hanging Woman instead of the Hanged Man or the Hanged One, Death, and Temperance. And again, we added in the Unseen just cause, this extra card here. So the first thing we did, as usual, keyword exercise. So finding 1 to 3 keywords that summarize the qualities of this set of cards. If you'd like, feel free to pause right now as you figure out your own keywords. This was another challenge, but a welcome challenge because we can't always have things too easy, right? The two keywords that I came up with were adjustments and responding. These two go hand in hand for me because these cards feel like they are adjusting and responding to external things happening in their environment. So like strength, outside of you, you feel like you need to tap into your strength to remember your values. The Hermit, outside feels too overwhelming, so you're going within, going inside yourself instead. The Wheel of Fortune, your environment is all like topsy-turvy and going round and round, so you choose how to adjust and respond to that. Justice, responding to consequences, fairness around you, your gut instinct, and making adjustments that way. Other keywords, the word balance. Everyone else came up with the word balance, and I could see that as well. That is related to the word adjustments, in my opinion. Another keyword that really stood out to me was phases. And I really like that word because it reminds me that the current thing that's happening is not permanent. Hopefully it's not permanent. So we can just kind of put up with it and adjust for the time being and know that when the future thing comes along, we can make adjustments for those external circumstances as well. So like strength. Sometimes it feels like, yeah, it's really trying our strength right now. We really need to be strong, but hopefully this is just a phase and it'll pass soon. With the Hermit, definitely just a phase. You know, after we are hermiting for a while, we eventually would like to go back out into the world. Death, we are going through a transitional phase right now, but this too will pass as we get more used to it. The Hanging Woman, yeah, there are times when we are just in this suspended phase where we just have our hands tied and or we choose to not do anything, we choose to disengage. So yeah, the word phases is a new favorite keyword for the set of cards and all the major arcana. And as usual, we looked at certain cards that really stood out to us. So we talked about the Hanging Woman and the Strength card. So the Hanging Woman, very different from other Rider-Waite-Smith cards that feature a person who is hanged against their will. And this card collectively was all of our favorite arcanum out of all of these cards here. We just love the joyful expression on their face and on their pose as well. I love that this pose here feels like it could be a conscious choice to be up here rather than only a choice that happens to us. The arms are up almost like in surrender too, surrendering to life circumstances. It feels similar to what I can imagine the Wheel of Fortune could be. Like, just surrender and ride the waves as they come. We have the moon phases in the back here, also symbolizing like passage of time or phases, like I just said. Also interesting to note, the ground, rather than being like level, like a straight sky and ground situation, the ground is curved. It just looks different now. You know, the ground looks different. It's curved all around us. Yeah, so the perspective here is really interesting. The strength card, let's see. This one also was curious for me because I wondered why like a whale was chosen for strength. I'm not sure how many other animal decks would choose whale. Usually strength is like the predator cards like lions or other cards. So we talked about the whale being a gentle giant. The whale is such a huge creature. One might expect it to be like the most ferocious predatory creature, but it's not like that. It's very gentle, and its body can protect other fish because it's so big. It also, I guess, lifts up fish to the surface when it surfaces so that other birds on the surface can eat the fish from the ocean here. And yeah, despite its size, it's just not predatory or ferocious in the slightest. In fact, it's a filter feeder. It doesn't feed by like chomping on fish. It just feeds by like filtering water through its gills and filters. Yeah, clearly I'm not a whale expert, but I love like being able to learn bits and pieces about animals through this deck. And then lastly, what we did together was we did a collaborative spread. So Joe pulled a spread from the Way Anchor Tarot spread book. The author of the Way Anchor spread book has created or curated spreads related to each of the 78 cards. So she pulled the spread out for the Hanged one. There are 3 other spread positions, so each of the 3 of us just drew a card for all of us to read. And the creator of the Way Anchor book also posts a lot of free spreads on Instagram, so you can check those out as well. So here is the Hanged One spread from the Way Anchor spread book. Suspension, shift, and surrender. Suspension, where am I feeling stuck? Shift, a perspective I haven't experienced before. Surrender, what is something I need to accept about my path? Suspension, shift, and surrender. I love that alliteration of spread keywords there. Suspension, Ace of Cups, shift, 3 of Thunder, surrender, Wheel of Fortunes. Sorry if I'm repeating a lot. I just repeat things over and over so I can like focus on them in my head, I guess, and like process them out loud. So one more time. Suspension, where am I feeling stuck? Ace of Cups, shift, a perspective I haven't experienced before, 3 of Thunder or 3 of Swords, and surrender, what is something I need to accept about my path? Wheel of Fortune. So this is the spread that we collaboratively pulled cards for, and each of us interpreted them in our own ways. I'll share with you my interpretation. For me, where am I feeling stuck? Ace of Cups. I needed to find a source of joy, needed to find some lighthearted feelings, especially because I mentioned I was feeling very scattered, very unfocused. So a solution to that is not to just get focused, because when you have focus problems, sometimes just get focused is like the opposite of what you need. But instead, what I just really needed was to find some lighthearted feelings and activities and moments, ways to connect with other people. Yeah, so the keyword I really got here was lightheartedness. Second card, shift, a perspective I haven't experienced before, 3 of Thunder. My affirmation for 3 of Thunder came up, which was, it's all part of the experience. It reminded me of the phases concept that we talked about before, where the current hardships and struggles and adjustment period, it is a phase. I am going to feel better. I am going to get the hang of it later on as I get more acquainted with things. So for now, I just know that this is all part of the experience. I've been doing a lot of like doctor's appointments and keeping up with like my yearly checkups. Been prescribed a couple of things I have to keep up with for the time being, and it's causing me a lot of stress as I reorient my entire schedule. So the 3 of Thunder reminded me that it is just all part of the experience of being an adult, an autonomous adult. I have to take care of my own health. Not have to, I want to take care of my own health. So I do want to keep up with these prescriptions, even though they are causing me some stress right now. I don't have a parent to take care of me and do these health things for me. I don't have anybody else to take care of my body for me. So this is just all part of the experience. And last card here, surrender. What is something I need to accept about my path? The Wheel of Fortune. Again, back to the word of phases. The current phase, the current season will pass. There's no way to get around the stress. There's no way to just skip this season of adjustment. The only way to get through it is literally just going through it. There's no cheat code or like fast forward or skip that I can do. So yeah, in the meantime, as I'm going through this experience of adjusting here, I just can find some lightheartedness, find some fun things to do that are not thinky, just some feel-good stuff. So yeah, that's the collaborative spread that we did. So that was the recap of our past couple of Gentle Tarot deck studies. We will have our last session in the first week of January. Oh my gosh, cannot believe that we are at the end already. Okay, well, that's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.